He was driven by a true, innate curiosity, and he formed many deep friendships that ignored the boundaries of his musical career. He never thought of himself as a rock star, but rather as a man who had the great pleasure of doing what he loved to do and enjoying the life he worked so hard to create. One of his great loves was sports, and that passion was where he and Frank connected. Frank and Kevin met in the late 70s at the University of Massachusetts in Amherst. The Jukes were playing a spring concert there almost every year, and the hockey and football players, that would include Frank, were assigned to provide security for their luxurious backstage accommodations, the basketball team locker room. On his first shift, Frank and Kevin struck up a conversation, and the next year, Frank was amazed that Kevin remembered him and greeted him like a true friend. It was just about the time that The Hearts of Stone was going to come out, and Kevin was going to be touring all over the country to promote it. One of the stops would be the Paradise Club in Boston. Kevin gave Frank his phone number and invited him to call. As the tour hit Boston, Frank did just that. They met up at the concert, and the evening led to a friendship of over 35 years. Kevin would invite Frank to join him backstage at concerts up and down the East Coast, even staying at Frank's parents' house. His mom thought of Kevin as a second son, and Frank, who knew many of the area's hockey and baseball personalities, would reciprocate by giving Kevin some well-deserved downtime going to games together. But there was one game that no one would ever forget, and no one can tell the story of the infamous Pine Tar game like Frank can. Frank, would you join us?
You'll have to excuse my voice. I have a little bit of laryngitis, but I wouldn't miss this for the world. It was my pleasure to have known Kevin and to have him as a friend. We met in 1978 while I was a student at UMass. The hockey and the football players served as backstage security. And he did. He would say, "Call me whenever I'm in Boston." And I can remember countless shows at the Paradise, the Channel, and just about every college in the area. Something clicked with us, and it wasn't just the music. It was mainly sports. He hated all Boston teams. I hated all New York teams. I would only wear this Yankees hat for Kevin. We spent numerous hours at Fenway Park, the old Boston Garden, Yankee Stadium, Shea Stadium. But the highlight was the infamous George Brett Pine Tar game at Yankee Stadium in 1983. Kevin and I would talk about it, and we would take great pride in saying that we were there. And actually, we have the ticket stubs to prove it. I have so many fond memories of Kevin, and taking Denise as an infant to the Meadowlands to cheer on his beloved Devils. I think Emily was about 6 months old at the time. Denise and Kevin were my guests at Boston Garden for Bruins games, Celtics games, and again, many games at Shea, along with Emily and her little wiffle ball bat. We never really hated each other's teams. Why? Because we were friends. And the music, well, there were hundreds of concerts in hundreds of different venues. And the people he introduced me to, talented musicians, so nice and so respectful of Kevin's talent. My special friend, Kevin Buell, who I thought would be here today, is one of my dear friends, and I met him through Kevin Kavanaugh. And I know how much he did for Kevin while he was sick. Kevin's passing was certainly sad, but his music will always be with us, because music helps us to deal with the pain and hardships in everyday life. When I hear Kevin's distinctive roadhouse style, it always brings a smile to my face, and it makes my bad days a little easier. Kevin, how lucky I am to have known someone who was so hard to say goodbye to.